So today we're going to start off with classification. We're moving on from Unit 3 into Unit 4, classification. Past units we've talked about cells and how to categorize cells, and now we're going to look at how we categorize organisms in a whole. First, we're going to start off with finding order in diversity. These three bullet points or questions are going to be our main topic of focus today, and within our slideshow, you should be able to answer these three questions at the end. How are living things organized for study? What is binomial nomenclature? And then lastly, what is Linnaeus's system of classification? So why do we classify things? To study the diversity of life, biologists use a classification system to name organisms and group them into a logical manner. This is very much the same reason you guys or students organize their playlists, your music into playlists, simply for the fact of, you don't want to listen to weepy, mopey music when you're trying to get ready for a game or hang out with friends. You have a little bit more upbeat music when you're doing that compared to, slower music maybe for studying or getting ready for bed. It's just a logical manner to have upbeat music when you're getting ready for something and slower music when you're getting ready for bed or trying to relax. The next one would be, trying to say along the same lines of, what do you think of when you hear the word bird? In many instances, some people will think of the cardinal here. Some people may think of the penguins at the bottom, and a few may even think of the emu or ostrich here on the right side. Bird is a very, common word. Pretty much we all think of something with feathers when we think of birds. Some people may think flight, but that's not always true, because if we look here at ostriches and the penguins, they are birds that do not fly. A similar example would be, look at these four pictures. Okay, mountain lion, puma, panther, cougar. They're similar. They're all the same animal, but we call them different names. If we look beyond organisms, we can even see what is a generic term for sweet and carbonated beverage. Here in Missouri, we're kind of split. Some people call it soda. Some people call it pop. Same thing with, what do you call the thing from which you might get a drink of water in school? Here we call it a water fountain. Out west, they call it a drinking fountain. And where I am from in Sheboygan, here is the green, we call it a bubbler. It's still the same thing, it's just we call it different names. And then lastly, you can look at lightning bugs versus fireflies. Again, it's the same thing, we just call it by different names. We organize creatures and name them so that we always know what we're talking about. So here's the pictures of the cougar, puma, mountain lion, panther, whatever you want to call it. Okay, we give it its scientific name is Felis concolor. Okay, so no matter if you are in Wyoming or Italy or South America or Maine, the Felis concolor is always going to be a Felis concolor. You're always having that same organism associated with this to name name. To avoid the confusion caused by regional names, biologists use a classification system to group organisms into a logical manner to assign names. Pretty easy. Okay, we organize things and then give them names based on those classifications that we order them into. Taxonomy is a discipline into which we classify these organisms, okay, and then assigning them names. Assigning scientific names to organisms was quite a feat. Our early efforts ended up with organisms having 20-word long names that were very descriptive and very detailed of the organisms, but it turned out that it was very hard to standardize these names because not everywhere you went, the word meant the same thing. That is when Carl Linnaeus, who is a Swedish botanist, came up with binomial nomenclature. He developed this two-word naming system by to nomial name, nomenclature, naming system, where it's always written in italics and the first word is always capitalized. You can see that here at the bottom in Homo sapien is italicized. The first word is capitalized and the second word is in lowercase. So whenever you see something written like this, you know that it is in scientific name. Binomial nomenclature starts off with the first word being the genus, a group that is closely related. A genus is very similar to your last name. Okay, most people that share your same last name are closely related to you. The second word in the binomial nomenclature is the species, a group of similar organisms that can breed and produce fertile offspring. The key word there is fertile. Yes, you can breed a horse and a donkey, but you get a mule, but you can't breed two mules together to get another mule. They are infertile. The species would be similar to your specific name. So in my instance, my genus would be Gilense. My species would be Rebecca. There is only one Rebecca Gilense. There are a couple of Gilenses, all that I'm related to. You can see how genus is a bigger group than species. In Asian culture, a lot of times their first name is their genus, so they would be, their family name comes first and then their specific name. Linnaeus' system of classification. Linnaeus made a hierarchy of classifications that includes 7 levels, from smallest or most specific to the broadest. We go species, genus, family, order, class, phylum, and kingdom. If we want to reverse that order and go from the broadest, so the one that has the most organisms, to the one that has the least amount of organisms, we go kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, species, or genus, species. Sorry about that. You can see that here on this chart here. Don't worry so much about the domain for right now. We will talk about that later this week. But if you look at the human, we go kingdom Animalia. We are animals. We go to the phylum Chordata because we have spinal cords. Class Mammalia, order Primate, family Hominidae, and then genus Homo, and then species Sapien. If you look on to the right of the ostrich, we share the same kingdom and phylum. And then at class, we split because the ostrich is an aves. It has hollow bones and feathers. And then you can follow its specific species on down. Here is the chart that you should have copied into your notes. It gives the classifications and then the definitions and then the examples.